What's up YouTube, Mosey Designer here, bringing you a fun video where I wanted to talk about how I got into level design and got started using Unreal Engine, starting back from Unreal 1 to Unreal Tournament 2003 and 4, and Unreal Tournament 3. So I wanted to go back and look at some of my older maps, see what I did wrong, how I improved over time to get to where I am now, and let's get started by looking at Unreal 1. So I first got started with level design back when Unreal 1 came out many years ago. I played this game religiously at LAN parties with friends and had a blast playing this game, but at some point there was an epiphany in my mind of how are these levels made. For example, right here we're seeing footage of the original Deck 16, and I played this a lot, and this map and other maps really inspired me to think about how are these made and can I make something like this. And so I fired up the Unreal Engine 1 editor and made some very bad maps that I can't find anywhere out there, but they were very bad. But I even got told on a forum to stop making maps and to give up, but I never did. So from here I moved on to making maps when Unreal Tournament came out. So down the road, Unreal Tournament came out, which really refined the multiplayer experience of Unreal into Unreal Tournament. Again, I played this religiously with friends at LAN parties. Facing Worlds, as shown here, was one of our most favorite maps we played for hours and hours on end. And in here, I managed to start getting a little better at level design, but not that great. So let's take a look at my first map that I called DMAX Area. Yes, I know the name is very cheesy. So here it is, the very first map I ever made. Pretty bad, right? So this map, just for me back then, it was the best thing I ever made because I actually built something, but obviously it's really bad. It's just filled with dead ends that don't go anywhere. Colored lighting that's just placed all over the place for no reason. Terrible light shafts. I'm laughing at myself right now, honestly. Misaligned textures and no real sense of flow. It's just I think there were like 3 octagon rooms that I connected that wrapped around themselves, but there was no apparent flow of where I need to go. Oh yeah, check out my awesome lens flares up there. So bad. But hey, I mean, everyone starts at somewhere. So basically I had 3 octagons next to each other that looped around and connected to each other. So the shapes looked exactly the same, the materials looked exactly the same, the colored lighting doesn't help, and there's no sense of why there's colored lighting. So yeah, this map was bad, but it was a step in the right direction for me to learn what to do next to improve. So the next map I made was called Tunduk, and it's not that much better, but there's some improvements which I made in terms of flow. So this is the second map I made for Unreal Tournament called Tunduk. Not that much better than the first map, but it was my lame attempt to do a Deck 16 style map. Again, it didn't go very well, but there were some improvements. I was able to build a skybox. I was able to build more geometry, but again, I was still very shy or not that competent, where I still built 3 rooms that connect to each other, and all I did was label them area A, B, and C, but that still doesn't help the flow of the map. Again, a lot of repeating textures, terrible lighting, but it was a step, again, in the right direction. I learned a lot from this map, I think, in how to build flow, but didn't execute on it that well. From here I built another map called DM Battalion that had much better flow, was a little more well received by the Unreal Tournament community on the forums. And then my last map that I made for Unreal Tournament was called CTF Stranger in a Strange Land, in reference to an Iron Maiden song. Both of the maps I couldn't find to record for you guys, but they're out there. If you find them, please play them, let me know where you found them. But after that, I moved on to, after CTF Stranger, I moved on to Unreal Tournament 2003, where I got really good at level design. So when Unreal Tournament 2003-2004 came around, things changed. BSP was still around, which is the way to build a level shell, but something new was added, and this was static meshes. Static meshes really helped accentuate the design and layout of levels with cool art pieces, almost like Legos. And this is where I improved my level design, because I could build a geometric shell in BSP, but I could never art it out. I was never as good as the other guys back then who could do BSP art, and even to this day I'm not a good artist, but static meshes helped me in the right direction to fill in the gaps where my BSP art lacked. I could use static meshes to fill in the story. And from there, I was able to build better maps that had a good layout, but also had decent art, thanks to static meshes. So the first map I was able to build with a better layout and better artwork was called DM101 Frostbite. So let's take a look at that map. So the first big improvement for me here was the layout. I built a small geometric shell with rooms that connected to each other in a logical way with ramps and elevators. Players never got lost. The geometry made some sense to why the spaces connect to each other. It provided good combat ranges, good areas to snipe, and some also close quarters combats in the hallways. I was able to use static meshes a little bit to improve the story, to make it somewhat believable that there's a facility in the mountains or something. It's still not that good, but overall it was well received by the Unreal Tournament community. People enjoyed playing it, but there were still some mistakes and area to improve, which I did in my next map, DM Iron Maiden. If you haven't guessed it yet, I like Iron Maiden and metal music, and back then and to this day it's a big inspiration for me to listen to great music while I work on my maps. Anyways, this map was very well received by the Unreal Tournament community, and the reason for that was the simplicity. The layout was very easy to follow, the material texture usage was well done, the flow of the map was easy to understand, where players are going, where the combat spaces are, the item placement helped guide the players throughout the map. I also reinforced the theme of the Foundry with metallic static meshes and adding molten metal flowing through pipes and undergrates around you in the level. With all these elements, the map came together very well, played well, and was well received by the community. From here, I learned what works and what doesn't work to some degree, and I was able to use the lessons here to create my first large map, which was called Bombing Run Aquarius, which involved attack and defense situations within a level. So this is Bombing Run Aquarius. It's a large team-based map in the Bombing Run game mode, where you have to take a ball from the center of the map to the enemy goal. This map was large but still symmetrical, but either way it was a challenge for me to build a map that allowed for offense and defense situations, multiple pads in this underwater station. So I was able to use this skybox and manipulate it to be underwater with a cool shark floating outside to add storytelling elements. This map played very well in the Unreal Tournament community, but it wasn't perfect. But the lessons I learned from the Frostbite and Iron Maiden helped here to build a flow that was easy to follow, with better improvements on my static mesh placement and my lighting and material usage. Overall, the map played quite well in the community, but I was able to learn a lot more from this map and use the lessons learned to build a much smaller, almost pro-level focus map called DM101 Painkiller, where I improved on my static mesh placement, texture, material usage, and lighting. So let's take a look at that level. So this is DM101 Painkiller. This is perhaps the best map I made for Unreal Tournament. It was very well received by the community, the pro players, and very veteran modders and level designers. So this is where I pretty much hit the mark of things make sense. I know what I'm doing with level design. The map was very porous, but easy to follow and had strategic flow, much better item placement, better lighting, better static mesh placement to bring this cohesive feel of a sci-fi facility. The layout provided strategic points to cut off the enemy player from lower levels or vertical levels. I really pushed verticality in this map, which is something I was not good at, but after practice I was able to build better vertical maps. And from here I learned a lot with better material usage, static mesh placement, and lighting, which helped me build better maps when Unreal Tournament 3 came around. So let's see what I did when the next game in the Unreal franchise came about. So when Unreal Tournament 3 was released, I got on the modding scene for this very quickly, and things really changed. Unreal Engine 3 provided better materials, better lighting, better terrain systems, you name it, it changed. And there was a lot more detail in these maps, and it really made me excited to build maps with more detail. But I think the first map I made for this game, even though it was successful, I think I went overboard on the detail and lost my way with simplicity, which was a key in my previous designs that were successful. So let's take a look at what I did with Unreal Tournament 3. So the first map I made with Unreal Tournament 3 was a remake of DM Iron Maiden, and I called it DM Iron Maiden 2. Very original, I know. But I used a layout that I found that was successful and used the tools of Unreal Tournament 3 to remake it. So instead, I kept the same foundry feel, the exact same layout, but instead of the fiery foundry, I made it more overgrown and decayed, as if it's been lost for some time, but still functional. So I was really able to use static meshes to accentuate the feel of an overgrown facility. I was able to use terrain as well in parts of the map and really tie together that feel. The map was fun, people recognized it, but where it failed, I think, was I went a bit too overboard on the static meshes, just put them everywhere and anywhere, which wasn't a good thing to do. And I also kind of failed the lighting, because post-process was new for Unreal Tournament 3, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I thought this kind of green jungle-ish mist vibe was cool, but in hindsight, it's not. It does look ugly, and it takes away from what made the map great in the past. But even though there's a lot of detail, like, I don't feel like the detail was bad, but I think I went overboard. Like, there's no corner without a static mesh, and I think I should have pulled back a bit. But I did some fun things. I made my own decal, like Mosey was here, and I improved my skybox as well and made more implied spaces to feel like, hey, there's more to this area than just a fighting arena. It's a real place. It's a full facility beyond the walls of the arena you fight in. Overall, the map was still successful. People played it, but it was a bit overscaled and a bit too heavy on the details. But from here I moved on to my next map called War Airlock, where again I went overboard with the details. So this is my second map for Unreal Tournament 3 called Warfare Airlock. The Warfare game mode was usually played on large open maps where you have to control power nodes and destroy power cores, but I thought, hey, I'm going to make an interior version of it in a sci-fi space station. Again, the layout was decent, the gameplay was fun, but I think I went overboard with the static meshes again, but it still felt cohesive, it felt sci-fi. And this is also my first experiment into Unreal Engine 3 scripting. I built an airlock system where if you control the middle node, it would airlock the enemy team. So if red controls the airlock node, blue would be kind of flushed out from their side of the map and without oxygen, and it would be a team wipe and a good way for you to control the map. However, since I didn't have VO or UI elements to use, it didn't make much sense how to activate the airlock or what the airlock does, but I'll show you how it works. You just control the middle node and it starts building, and if you are on the opposing team of the one that built it, you could get trapped in the airlock. So I'll run over to the blue base to show you how the airlock looks, and there was a lot of scripting behind the scenes, kind of messy scripting, but it was my first experiment into Kismet and learning logic. So that's one of the biggest wins for this map, was getting into level design scripting. So here in a few seconds the airlock will activate, and I did like a post-process change, fired off particle effects, created a kill volume that works after a certain delay. So kind of a neat gimmick for the map. It wasn't very well executed, but it was still fun, and I learned a lot with scripting, and again with more lessons learned from my layout work and my static mesh and lighting work for my next map. So the next map I made was called Warfare Meditation. This map, fun fact, is I actually won 3rd place in the Make Something Unreal contest, the Warfare category. That was a big achievement for me as a level designer. I could have came in 1st or 2nd had I improved on my lighting and my static mesh placement, but 3rd was still a good way for me to feel happy about my work, but also strive to be better. This map succeeded because the lighting was simpler, the layout was simpler, it was not overcluttered like Iron Maiden 2 or Airlock. The game mode made sense in the space that it had, the scale was perfect for the vehicles, players, there's a nice central landmark of the bridge that you can fight over and under. And even though my lighting is kind of flat, I think it was a step in the right direction to use detail but balance it with simplicity. So I have a theme, but I don't go overboard on the theme that I can't see where I'm going. Things feel overcluttered. So it was a right balance, and it was a step in the right direction for my next map that I worked on called CTF Full Throttle, which is I think in my opinion a good balance of extra detail but still a core functionality of simplicity in a map. So let's take a look at that map right now. So CTF Full Throttle was inspired by Assault High Speed from Unreal Tournament, where you're on a very fast moving train. I really stepped up my scripting game to make it feel like this cart is moving very fast in the city, when in fact it's not, but it's faked. But I really stepped up my scripting game to give that appearance of speed. The static mesh placement I think was a lot better, my lighting improved, and the layout was still simple. It was easy to follow. There's a red base and a blue base on a speeding cart that's going throughout the city. There's a lot of cool moving pieces that really add to the story that you're on a moving platform. A lot of elements of risk and reward, as you can jump over this giant fan, but someone can kick you in it and you can jib. So that's one thing I actually improved upon, was adding elements of risk and reward in my layouts. This is the last map I made for Unreal Tournament 3, and from here I moved on to the UDK system to just focus on more vignettes and really push my static mesh work and lighting work to the next level. So let's take a look at some of my vignettes. So with UDK, I really started to focus more on my visual scenes to really make a cohesive vignette that has a story with static meshes and lighting. I made quite a few of these over the years when UDK was out, with each one trying to one-up myself with the next scene. These were very helpful for me to really focus on my static mesh placement and lighting. And I also moved on to making scenes for Unreal Engine 4, and all of these scenes together really helped me learn more about how Unreal Engine works, because I felt like I can build a layout, but I need to improve on my art. And even right now I don't feel like I'm at the level I want to be, but I'm getting better with each scene, and the knowledge I have I'd like to share with you guys, as I did with the level design tutorial. So hopefully I will keep trying to aspire to the next level and create more content. So in conclusion, I just want to say, if you made it this far, thank you for watching my video. Really appreciate the support that I get now for my cool speed level design videos and level design tutorial and the blueprint tutorials and some of the fun gameplay I stream of other games. But the point I wanted to make is, everyone starts somewhere, and it's never too late to start. Yes, when you have no experience like I did, your work will suck. People might tell you your work sucks, but don't give up. Keep making content, learn from your mistakes, learn from people who are better than you. Find the research on the forums or YouTube videos, whatever, to improve yourself. And as you saw over the years, I stuck with Unreal. Not to say that you have to use Unreal to get good. You can use Source, you can use Unity. Maybe you don't want to do level design, you want to do coding, you want to do environment art, you want to do character art, you want to do animation. Whatever your desire is to do as an art or as a skill, start doing it now. Practice, learn. And yes, that 10,000 hours rule does apply. I think over the years I've accumulated more than 10,000 hours in learning how to use Unreal, and I'm still learning how to use Unreal today. So the point is, get out there, make content, and learn and hone your art. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm still learning from people better than me. There's people who can run circles around me in level design and art any day of the week. But I keep creating content to get better and learn and get feedback. So overall, I hope this video was entertaining, informative, and inspires you to go out there and create something for video games or another medium. So just practice your art, and eventually you will improve. There will be haters out there, but you have to look past the haters and find people who are willing to give you the support to help you learn and grow. So without further ramblings, I would like to conclude this video, and please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. And again, thank you all for your support. I'm almost at 200 subs. It's a really good feeling, and I want to continue sharing my knowledge about Unreal and video games with you guys in the future. So until then, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.